Hello everyone, my name is Jacob and thank you for tuning in to this balance video. So if any of you have seen Paul's most recent videos, Walking with Ease and Grace and Secrets for Enhancing Balance, the content of this video will hopefully be consistent with some of those ideas that Paul brought up and some of the movements that were practiced in those videos. So this will be kind of like a yoga-based routine. It'll focus on grounding, so focusing on the relation between the feet and the earth below, as well as the pelvis and the balance disc. So for this video, you will need a chair, optional balance disc to put on the chair, and as this will include both a sitting component and a standing component, I highly recommend having something in front of you to hold on to once you stand up, such as the back of a chair or a counter, or maybe doing this in the corner of a room so you can have a wall to hold on to. So with that, we will go ahead and sit down on the balance disc. First, just getting in touch with how you feel here, starting to become aware of the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, and the balance disc or the chair beneath your pelvis. Trying to find out where you can have an even weight distribution. And with your feet, knowing that the more surface area we have in contact with the ground, the more support we will be able to have. And with that, bringing our awareness to our pelvis. And if you will recall the idea of the clock, so if we were to be sitting on a clock right now, the forward position, so if we were to lean our weight forward, that would be 12 o'clock. Leaning our weight backwards would be 6 o'clock. And to our right is 3 o'clock, and to our left is 9 o'clock. And in this video, I will attempt to mirror you. So as you follow along with me, if I say the left arm, it'll actually be my right arm. So just follow along with what I'm doing and follow along with the words that I use. So from here, we're gonna start with a kind of like a walking motion. So your hands can be on your hips or resting on your thighs. And we're gonna just start rolling up onto the ball of one foot and then to the other. Start to notice what's going on. Where is the weight shifting? How are the movements of the spine accommodating this shifting of weight? You might notice that the foot that's lifting up, the weight is shifting away from that foot. So as I lift up my right foot, my weight shifts to the left, meaning that on that pelvic clock, as my right foot shifts up and my weight shifts to the left, that should be going towards 9 o'clock. And likewise on the other side. So we're shifting, our pelvis should be shifting between 9 and 3. And maybe from here, we start to add in a movement of the chest. So if there is a light shining out of our chest, and we can simulate that by keeping our hands at heart center in prayer position, maybe you start to increase a little bit of that rotation movement. And your chest may begin to shift towards the side where the heel is lifting up. So actually away from the direction that your pelvis is shifting, where the weight is shifting. So as my weight shifts over to 9 o'clock, I'm turning my chest over towards the right. And go ahead and keep practicing that. Just getting a feel for how the spine moves in response to how we create relations between ourselves and the ground, how we shift our weight, and go ahead and let that rest. And from here, going back to that, just that pelvic clock motion, so just moving the pelvis from side to side, and then adding on a little bit of a side bend. So maybe the right arm reaches up as our weight shifts over towards 3 o'clock. And maybe our gaze goes towards that lifted arm. So we're creating different shapes with our spine. And as my left side gets long, my right side gets shorter. Trying to sync these movements up with the breath. I like to inhale as I reach up, and exhale as I come back down. And from here, letting that rest. And maybe letting the pelvis move back and forth now from the 12 o'clock to the 6 o'clock. And then making this a little more dynamic by adding in the arms. So I call this a self-compassion cat-cow. So as my pelvis shifts forward towards 12, my arms open up, and I open myself up to the world, and then as I tuck my pelvis back, I give myself a big hug. So we've got extension and flexion. Inhaling as the arms open. Exhaling as you give yourself a nice hug. Feeling free to continue with these motions in sitting or moving on to standing. So how we'll do that is we're going to move on to a modified version of a sun salutation. So if any of you are familiar with yoga, this is a series of movements of changing position. It's important to just keep breathing. So the first part of the sun salutation will be going from the sitting position to a standing position. So we've learned before that a good way to do this, you drop your weight forward, your tailbone starts to lift, and then you stand up, and this time we're gonna maybe bring our arms up, up, up to the ceiling as we inhale, and exhale, our hands come to heart center. And from here, we're gonna inhale and lift up again. And exhale, make sure that chair is still behind you, and we're gonna slowly dive forward and sit right back down in that chair as we fold forward. And when we inhale, we're only gonna lift halfway up. So we're gonna inhale and look forward and create a nice open back, open heart. Exhale, fall back forward. And on our next inhale, we're gonna stand right back up. So inhale and lift, 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 lift. Exhale, hands to heart center. We're gonna inhale and lift up, 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 up. Maybe our gaze follows our hands. And exhale, we're gonna fold forward all the way, sitting back down on the chair, our hands coming down. So on the next time we stand up, you can keep doing it exactly like we've been doing it, or we can lift up so we're standing just on our left leg. So the right leg is gonna lift up. So We're going to inhale and look up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. And inhale, you're going to stand up, 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 and maybe lift up that right leg. And then put it back down as your hands come to heart center. And inhale, lift up. Maybe you lift that leg up again. And exhale, let the foot back down and sit back down into the chair. And fold forward. When we stand up the next time, either keep doing it with both legs on the ground or maybe lift up that other leg. So inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, tailbone lifts up. Stand up, lift that left leg up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And quickly find that grounding through both feet. Toes spread nice and wide. Inhale, arms to the sky, and maybe that leg lifts. Exhale, the leg goes back down, and we find our way back into that forward fold. Inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. And this time we're just gonna inhale and lift up. Both feet on the ground. Exhale, let our arms back down to our sides. So now going through a couple of movements that we did in sitting, but now we're in standing. So instead of our feet and our pelvis being connected to a support surface, it's just our feet. So we're really thinking about grounding through all four corners of our feet. So letting our toes spread wide, keeping the contact area nice and wide. We're gonna start to do that same thing where we lift up onto the balls of one foot and then lower, and lift up onto the ball of the other foot and lower. So continue to do that, and maybe let your hands come to heart center. And then stay here, keep doing this. Maybe try to go up even higher onto the tippy tip top of your big toe. Now adding a little more of an exaggerated rotation, where if there was a light shining from heart center, it's turning over the leg that's lifting up, the knee that's bending. Trying to go back to your breath, trying to maintain that sense of ease and calm. Trying to sync up these movements with your breath in any way that is supportive to you. Maybe it's inhaling as you turn and exhaling as you come back to center. Or any way that is supportive. And stick with this, or maybe consider lifting up a foot. Just a reminder to please be doing this safely. Please be doing it right in front of a kitchen counter, a chair, a wall, standing in the corner of a room. Maybe slowing it down. You know, if we're moving with our breath, we should be moving pretty slowly, which will really challenge our stability. Keep bringing awareness to that standing foot, that standing leg. As I'm turning to the left, I'm grounding through that right leg and trying to keep my foot open and responsive, and allowing that responsiveness to travel up my leg, keeping my thigh muscles nice and tight, my glute muscles. Keep on moving with this. This is definitely already a great challenge. Or maybe open the arms up to the side and then return to prayer position. So as you lift up that left knee, gaze goes over that side to the left and arms open up towards the left. Moving at your own pace, moving with your breath. And then finding your way back to your mountain pose, your grounding. Maybe noticing how much more stable you feel when you're able to just connect with both feet, both legs, full body, and take a moment to breathe here. And now just moving on to a couple more of those movements that we did, making some additional shapes with our spine, the side bending, so maybe reaching your right arm up, pushing your hips towards the right, and then switching. Let me move back a little bit. So here, the arms don't have to be reached. You could also just slide a hand down the leg, so you could slide the left hand down the thigh, and then come back. So creating length on the left side of the body as your right hand slides down, or reaching an arm up and looking over that arm overhead. Trying to sense how your pelvis is moving. Thinking about when you did this when you're sitting on the balance disc, that relationship between where you were bending, what side you were bending towards, and where your pelvis, where the weight is shifted under your pelvis. Making this very fluid, trying to create length with the arms if you are using your arms, which is completely optional. Maybe adding an extra movement with the arms as one arm reaches up, as the left arm reaches up, the right arm reaches behind the back. And creating length with the reach, if you are doing the reach. So I'm envisioning a line of energy traveling from the center of my body all the way out through my fingertips to create a sense of energy and ease and strength. And then finding your way back to your mountain pose, reestablishing your connection with the earth. And one final movement for today is just another self-compassion cat-cow, but in this standing position. So inhaling as we open our arms, the chest comes forward, maybe the gaze goes slightly up. Exhaling as we give ourselves a big hug, creating some rounding in the spine. Inhaling, arms open. And as you exhale, maybe the opposite arm crosses on top. Inhaling, open. Exhaling, big hug. Inhaling, open. Exhaling, hug. feeling how this completely changes the shape of every part of your spine, bending and stretching, creating movement, fluidity, nutrition from the blood flow and synovial fluid in all the little joints of your spine, creating awareness of the position of our spine, which will help tremendously with our balance, our agility, and our ability to feel ease and comfort during any situation in life that involves taking on a different shape and having a different kind of connection with our support surface. So that's everything I have for you today. I hope everyone enjoyed this lesson, and thank you.